Hello, this is Erin with the Joy in Pens and Paper, and it is time for a 3 Inks Thursday. This is number 18. In a 3 Inks video, I take 3 inks, swatch them on 3 different papers using 3 different nib sizes, and we take a moment to compare. So for today, the 3 inks that I have selected are Birmingham Pen Company Distressed Leather, Van Diemen's Leatherwood Honey Amber, and Robert Oster Cafe Crema. These are all golden browns, and I love them so much. For the papers, I am using Life Bank paper, Clairefontaine Rhodia paper, and Tomoe River in a Galen Leather Everyday Notebook. And I will be using 3 TWSBI Goes with a fine, medium, and stub nib. Additional tools that I will be using is a Kakimori brass nib dip pen. I always have to think before I say that. Just to do the swatches, I have a jar of water and a white t-shirt to soak up moisture. So I'm just going to move some things to give my arms some room. And I say this more times than not, I did not swatch these to figure out the order. I am just going to grab and go. Another tool that I have is an Inkapet to put my sample vial in so that I don't do a bonehead thing and tip it. Although I probably might still do a bonehead thing. I think I am going to start with Van Diemen's Leatherwood Honey Amber. This is a sample from Van Ness. In my opinion, Van Ness gives really nice size samples that allow you a few fills of a converter or a piston. And that, for me, allows me to really explore that ink to determine if it's one I would want to try again. So first, I like to do these messy swatches. I prefer them messy and asymmetrical. And I am realizing I do not have this set up for optimal workflow here, so I'm just gonna move some things around. I got some blue ink in this section of the nib holder, and so I found myself when I was dipping the Kakimori brass nib in not dipping it too far because I just want to make sure not to contaminate. I'm going to try to rinse that off. With the fine nib, I have been putting the brand of ink. So this one is Van Diemen's. And then with the medium, I've been writing the ink color name. So this is Leatherwood Honey Amber. Right. Yes. And then with the stub nib, I like to do some lettering. So starting with some uppercase block lettering and then lowercase. Okay. Beautiful. What an interesting start. It's definitely a brighter color on the bank paper. All right, let's do the other sample. This is Robert Oster, Cafe Crema. Ooh. So beautiful. All right, so the brand is Robert Oster, and this is a ink sample. Actually, you know what? I was gonna say I got this in an ink swap, but I might have actually picked this one out. I am not sure, and if you're the one who swapped it with me and now I'm sitting here fibbing, I am so sorry. Cafe Crema. I did ink this one up in my Waterman Karen, which is actually right here. I just thought that was a really nice pairing. And as the use went on, it seemed to, the color seemed to change, which I talk about in a pen and ink review. All right. You can almost see in the Rhodia paper, there's some brightness here that matches the Cafe Crema. All right, and I've got this honkin' bottle of ink right here. Thank you so much, Birmingham Pen Company. Little fur there. Probably from when my cat came up to visit recently. Now, I don't know if I can capture this in the water, but I'm going to try to see if I can. When I rinse this, you might be able to see there's a highlighter color. I wonder if the camera picked it up. I can see it. But in this ink formula, there's this really bright highlighter green color that comes out, and it fascinates me whenever I rinse a pen or a nib with this ink. Okay, so this is Birmingham Pen Company. And the color is Distressed Leather. And I love that name. And using the stub nib, just to write some letters. Okay, let's take a look at these beauties. Love them. Love them, love them. So there certainly are some similarities. I think the Leatherwood Honey Amber tends to be a little bit, for my eyes, a little leaning towards the green side, versus the Cafe Crema and the Distressed Leather are a little bit more similar in their golden brownish color, but you can see that golden coming out on the Clairefontaine Rhodia paper, comparative to the other two. All three papers actually have some good shading, but the shading on the Clairefontaine paper for Leatherwood Honey Amber is pretty superb. This section right here, it's just gorgeous. You've got the really, really light color, this medium, and then a much darker color. Then looking at the Cafe Crema, it's actually a fairly standard ink across all three papers. There is some depth of color or some variation in the color, but generally I'm not seeing a ton of shading. And in fact, in the writing, specifically the medium, and a little bit, in the subnib, you get a little bit more character in the writing, which I think is really interesting. You can see along the edges of the letters, specifically in this G, that the edges are close to black, and then the kind of middle section is a little bit more of that honey golden color. Now let's talk about the Birmingham Pen Company Distressed Leather. Obviously, because I don't pre-swatch these, I look through this Warinkel color swatch book, and I find three inks that I think pair together for some reason, whether they're similar in color or whether they have a similar property that I am interested in talking about. But I think, again, based on my eye, this color looks different on each of the three papers. You've got more of I want to say like a pinky brown, almost a reddish brown in the middle. This is more of a standard brown, and then this is maybe a little bit on the tanny greeny side. And then you've got the light, the medium, the dark. It's really interesting. This section right here on the Tomoe River paper, and this section right here, I could look at that all day long. The shading, the very subtle shading, let me be clear, it's not as pronounced as Van Diemen's Leatherwood Honey Amber. It's very subtle shading. You can see a little bit right here, but that is just beautiful. It reminds me of, or I should say, this is what I somewhat picture ink to have been like back before the invention of rollerball pens, when they were even using a bit more simplistic quill pens and things like that. And I think of a drop of ink and the way it would settle on paper. It's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I'm very pleased that I compared these three inks. I am very surprised at how it's kind of well, gosh, as it dries even, we've got a little bit of leaning green, a little bit leaning orange, and a little bit more standard brown, I guess you could say. Gorgeous, gorgeous inks. Love them. All right, so that is my 3 inks for this Thursday. It's the 18th. Feel free to check out the other 3 inks. I'm considering making a playlist for them just so it's a little easier to find them. I really appreciate when channels have playlists. So I've got a couple and I might add a few more. So with that, I am going to sign off. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.